What's going on, everybody? What's going on? And thank you for tuning in to the realm of sound and direction. So, the last video was the ending of sound and an intro to quantum jumping and quantum leaping utilizing public transportation. So I guess you can call this video 1.5 since half was in the other one and this one's going to be another one. But in this video, we're going to be talking more on the positive and negative, getting an understanding of the feminine and masculine. So the way I'm discussing this, positive and negative, it's a unique way to truly understand how energy flows within your body and understanding reality and understanding the feminine and masculine. Learning how to balance your positive and negative to positive mentally. So you have an understanding of how reality works. And don't mind me if my head is on a swivel. Listen, I'm in nature and there is stuff popping up left and right. Foxes, deer, owls, just listen. Stuff is popping up. So if you see me doing this or doing that, just know something's close. But in the previous video, and also I'm going to share my experience that happened 2 days ago. Well, no, not 2 days ago, but within the past 2 days. So last video we talked about jumping, utilizing the numbers on the buses. Basically utilizing numerology and angel numbers to identify what parallel and reality that you're in. So let's say we jumped on bus 2005 in the negative positive, which is the feminine, the right side, negative to positive, right? So that bus would be bus 7 and the 7 parallel. So when you get off of that bus, you are now in the 7th parallel of the negative positive, the feminine. Or coming back, you can be in the positive negative of the 7th parallel in the masculine, right? Now this is where things get intergalactic and interesting, because this reality is a giant mirror. And to break this down in a way so you can understand and understand what I mean by it's a giant mirror, a grocery store, specific aisles. Now, you see how things are lined up. You have one aisle here, one aisle here, one aisle here, and one aisle there. And everything is lined up. It's a mirror. It's all a mirror. Now, how you get this illusion is you take 2 mirrors and face them in front of each other, and you place something in between it. Now you have an infinite layer of things on both sides. I spoke about this in my shadow video on how to interact with your shadow. Now we're talking about actual reality, because it's all the same thing. But we're going to be utilizing negative positive and positive negative. So when you have the 2 mirrors up and you place the object in between, you now have multiple layers, right? Now, back to the grocery store and the aisles. Those aisles are mirrors facing each other. Now you have multiple aisles. And when you go down these aisles, you have multiple items. Just like a mirror with 2 mirrors facing each other, you have multiple items and multiple aisles. Now, let's say you are on the negative, positive, the feminine side. Now you have a bus, the same bus coming back. The positive, negative. Now understand this, to understand. When you get on that opposite side of the road, it flips this way, right? And now you're standing on this side facing this way. What happens is everything flips. Even though it's coming at you from the masculine, as soon as you sit down in that bus facing forward, you are now back in the feminine. You see how this reality wants you stuck in the masculine only? We don't do that here. Masculine can't create. Feminine can't create. So having this understanding and overstanding of your reality, when positive, negative is going forward, feminine, right side of your brain, and the left side of your brain is positive to negative. It's coming back. So when you see it coming back, yes, you're going on the masculine, but as soon as you sit down, it flips back to the feminine. This is how trippy this reality is, because it is a mirror. Look at this reality as a giant funhouse. Multiple mirrors all over the place. You have no idea where you're going. All you see is a reflection. You see, it's ridiculous. It's wonky. And I will have a video speaking more on the flipping at a crossroad. It gets even more trippy at crossroads. It's easier to understand when you're going in a straight line, but when you start turning corners and coming to crossroads, that's where the flipping and dipping starts flipping and dipping. It starts doing some really wonky stuff where the positive negative flips to the negative positive, and it's just like, listen, it's like, yo, what in the world are we in? What is this place? And by mastering your sound, it creates a barrier. Like, you're able to really use your echolocation by bouncing your voice off of the dome. For one, the dome is one of them. And the thin layer of glass that is not visible by eye. The glass is so thin, it's you cannot see it with the naked eye. But those who have the eye, they can see this mirror and are able to bounce your sound off of it. This is why learning your sound and mastering your compass is very important, because every sound has its own element, and every element has its own direction. So when you are using your sound, by knowing yourself, and you're bouncing your sound off of the dome and the thin layer of glass, you are now able to direct yourself to where you want to go. Because sound travels and has to return back to you to vibrate you. So when you're speaking, you ever wondered, how is it you can hear your own voice? What is our sound bouncing off of to hear our own voice? You ever wondered how in the world can you hear a plane that's like 35, 40,000 feet up in the sky? What is that sound bouncing off of in the sky? The dome. What is that sound bouncing off in front of you? The thin layer of glass, the mirror. That's what it's bouncing off of. And on top of that, we're technically in water. That's a whole nother story. We'll get into that later on. But this reality is so interesting that everything that you say, it bounces back at you and vibrates your being. So you're able to move. So, again, by mastering self, understanding self, loving self, All of these things are required when utilizing your sound. Because if you continue to use distorted sound, you will be traveling in loops, in circles, like I was talking about in my previous video, following the calendar system, days of the week. Words that are double entendres, or as they call them, synonyms, homonyms, all that English stuff. Garbage. Absolute garbage. Words that sound the same but have a different meaning. Garbage. Absolute garbage. Understand me when I'm saying that. Absolute garbage. Those are words that will have you going in loops. I'm telling you this from experience because I watched a family member of mine continuously go in loops over and over and over and over. And I'm sitting here like, yo, do you see what you're doing? Like, it got to a point to where I was like, I gotta help him. I have to help him because he doesn't see what he's doing. And, you know, I'm a very observant person, and I can catch on to patterns, behaviors, movements, sequences, numbers, etc. Like a whole bunch of stuff. I can catch on to it immediately. And this is where I turned my room into a science lab and a giant compass. This is where I began to study and study and study. For those of you that have ADHD, you guys are time travelers. You guys are always in motion. You're always moving, always thinking, always like it never ends. But the compass is what's going to help you guys navigate with clarity. So you're no longer going in loops. So you'll have time to relax. So you have time to chill. Right? So I'm going to share my experience that took place on the 28th and the 29th. Because we don't follow a calendar system. We follow a rhythm of 3, 6, and 9. And the 28th happened to be a 9-day, and the 29th was a 3-day. 28th, 9, 29 was a 3. So peep game and listen very closely to the numbers and how we jumped and how we're moving in alignment. So the 28th was a 9-day. But when you add 2 and 8, you get 10. 1 plus 0 is 1. So it was a 9 on the 1. Listen to the numbers, 9 on the 1. It's all music, 9 on the 1. So when we got on the bus that rising, we jumped on a 11 bus. The number 11 is all about building. But knowing that we weren't going to be building that day, we knew we had to jump to the next parallel. So we got on a bus, and it happened to be a 1 bus. Right? So so remember, 28, 1 plus 0, 1. And we jumped on a 1 bus. 1 is all about intuition. So instead of getting back on another bus, we stayed in that realm of intuition that in the rest of the day and night until the following next day. Right? Which happened to be a 29. Now, I'm going to share some stuff from the science class about 3, 6, 9. 3, 6, 9, and 12. 12, east, also 0 degrees. 12 transitions into 0 degrees, which is east. 3 transitions into 90 degrees, which is south. 6 transitions into 180 degrees, and that is west. And 9 transitions into 270 degrees, and that is north. And then you go back to 12, which is 0 degrees, right? So being that it was a 9-day, we knew that it was going to shift into another, like a reset. Once the clock hits 12, 0 degrees, we shift back into the 3, 6, and 9, right? Boom. It is now a new day. We're on the 29th, which doesn't even exist. 2 plus 9, 11. What bus were we on in the previous realm? 11. Then we jumped to the 1. On the 1, 28. Now we're in 11. On the 3. You peeping game here. We're on 11 on the 3 now, right? And the bus that we happened to get on that rising was a 3, right? We get on that bus and we're like, well, we don't need support for today, so we're going to get off and jump. And you won't believe the next bus that we get on happens to be an 11. We have been in the 11 since yesterday. So this rising coming, we will be jumping on to another parallel from the 11 to the next number. Whatever bus number that bus says, that's the parallel that we're going to be jumping onto. But when you pay attention to what I said about 0 being east, 3 being south, 6 being 180, which is west, 9 being 270, which is north, when you listen to all those numbers, they all have a direction. I was traveling in specific directions, but it was more potent because I know my sound. So I pretty much knew where I was going off of my sound. But I was using the buses to help me jump quicker to where I was going. Mind you, I was on the bus of intuition. Everything I was doing was off of intuition. I was flowing. 2 plus 8, 1. I jumped on the 11 bus first, into the 1, and stayed into the 1. So I was flowing off of intuition. Then went from intuition to support. Didn't really need support, but went from support back to building. On the building day in the 3. It sounds confusing, but when you really dig deep into it, it's like, yo, that's a lot of jumping. Yeah. That's how this computer works. That's how this computer works. It's trippy, but when you start adding the positive and negative and the mirror and the flipping, it's even more trippy. It's even more trippy. But I'm going to have videos, not videos, but I'm going to have a video showing you this, where I'm at a cross section, and we're going to speak more. I'm going to have to do a part 3 to this, a part 2, a full 2 instead of 1.5. Actually, part 2 of explaining the mirror more, because there's more to speak on about that. There's more to speak on about that, about the mirror. So when I do part 2, I'm going to do part 2 and introduce the compass, because where I'm at, this basketball court is actually a compass. So I'm going to be able to do live footage of how things move on this basketball court. So tune in, family. Things are about to get real dope. And we're going to be showing you live how to use the compass in real time. Or should I say real moments? We don't use time here. In real moments, we're going to show you how to use this compass. Intergalactic Communications signing out.